Hello, today I'm going to talk to you about what you can expect during the month of October in Rocky Mountain National Park. If you're planning a visit in October, then you'll want to watch this video. This is a month of transition, and when you come, will make a real difference to your experience. You could say that October is a tale of two seasons. October is usually divided quite clearly between the first half of the month and the second half of the month. The first half of October is often quintessential autumn, with glistening aspen leaves and bugling elk, while the second half is often the very start of winter here in Rocky Mountain National Park. In the lower elevations, early October usually provides a mixture of very pleasant warm days and some cool days. You can expect the nights and mornings to be quite chilly. It's a wonderful time of year to visit, with lots of sunshine and crisp, cool air. However, higher up the mountain in the alpine zone, such as along Trail Ridge Road, you'll find conditions to be very cold and very windy. You'll definitely want your full winter gear on if you plan to spend any time up high. In fact, during these first couple of weeks of October, the mountains normally get their first coating of snow. Around mid-October, the weather in the lower elevation usually changes quite dramatically. The cold temperatures and high winds of the alpine zone make their way down to the lower portions of the park. I always consider the second half of October to be the start of winter. As well as high winds and cold temperatures, it's not uncommon for the first snowfall to arrive in the lower portions of the park during the second half of the month. So, if you're coming during the second half of the month, bring very warm, windproof clothing. Now, I do need to add a disclaimer here. What I've told you is the normal weather pattern here in Rocky Mountain National Park. However, what the weather actually does this year is anyone's guess. Once in a while, we've had warm weather in late October and even into late November. Rocky Mountain National Park can be spectacularly beautiful during the autumn as the aspen trees show off their golden leaves. During the first half of the month, the best color can be found at the lower elevations, around the meadows, and around the town of Estes Park. Be sure to visit Hollowell Park, Moraine Park, Beaver Meadows, Horseshoe Park, and the Endo Valley in order to see some of the best of the fall color at that time. There may even be a little bit of autumn color hanging on the west side of the park during the very first week of the month, so be sure and get over there as well. As I mentioned, around mid-October, we normally have a change in the weather that can bring high winds and much colder temperatures. This usually brings the autumn colors to a very abrupt end. Now, during the months of September and October, the elk are in their mating season, known as the rut. During this period, large bulls build harems of female elk while sparring with rivals for dominance. You can hear their haunting bugles echoing through the valley. They put on quite the show, and the roads are often lined with visitors who spend hours watching them each evening and morning. Now, if you're among them, be sure to keep at least 2 bus lengths away from the elk. They can be very dangerous at this time of year. Also, be aware that the meadows are closed to humans during the evenings and mornings in order to give the elk space. Now, somewhere around the middle to the end of the month, the rut gradually begins to die down. And generally, by the end of October, the elk go back to peacefully grazing in the meadows, where at that time they seem to gather in unusually large herds. The first half of October is a great time for hiking and other outdoor activities. It's a wonderful time to hit the trail, though you may start to encounter snow at the higher elevations. Whereas during the second half of the month, if the weather behaves as normal, I recommend enjoying a good book in front of a fire. The high winds and cold temperatures make most outdoor activities a bit less enjoyable. If you do go hiking during the second half of the month, try to avoid hiking in the forests when the winds are really howling, as there's a significant danger from falling trees on such days. Now, in terms of roads, Trail Ridge Road normally remains open during the first half of the month, assuming that the weather cooperates. The National Park Service will normally keep the road plowed through the beginning of the second week of the month. After that, the road is closed for the winter as soon as the first significant winter weather moves in. Now, Old Fall River Road will also close at some point in October, though when is often a bit more of a mystery. It usually closes before Trail Ridge Road. You can watch the news page on RockyMountainNationalPark.com, and we'll post an announcement there as soon as we learn of the close date. In terms of visitation, the first half of October is incredibly busy, and the weekends are among the busiest of the entire year. Now, if possible, avoid weekends in early October. Now, as you might expect, the second half of the month is very different and a whole lot less busy. Lastly, be aware that there is a timed entry permit that's required to enter the park until sometime in the middle of the month. Here in 2023, the permit system ends on October 22nd. For more information on the permit system, see the link in the notes below. Well, that's a very brief look at what you can expect in October. If you do come out, be sure and stop by my gallery to say hello. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you all again soon. If you would like to learn more about Rocky Mountain National Park, visit my website, RockyMountainNationalPark.com. For my books and calendar, visit RockyTrailPress.com. And if you're visiting Estes Park, Colorado, be sure and stop in my gallery, Images of RM and P.